Praise the Lord, saints. This is Elder Adrian Heyman. Maybe a week or so ago, I started dealing with things regarding hell. What hell really means in terms of what the Bible talks about it, what hell is like, in a sense. But I thought I should wrap it up today in dealing with not hell in itself, but what comes after hell. And that is the lake of fire. I know many people don't talk about it because it's a scary thing. It's probably the most frightening thing imaginable to those who are even thinking about going to heaven. People in the world may not think about it too much, but I guarantee that when they are looking at their last breath, if they've heard anything about it, the fear has to come out because you don't want to be a part of it. There is no escaping it. Once you're in it, you're in it. And no amount of God's love or grace or mercy will change that. First, I should show you, or at least let you know, that there will be people, or there will be beings, I should say, in the lake of fire before anyone else steps into it. The first two residents of this place will be, if you read Revelation chapter 19, it'll be the Antichrist and the false prophet. And they will be alone there for, if you believe the scriptures, they will be alone there for the first 1,000 years. The only two beings in that vast place will be the Antichrist and the false prophet. Think about that. Think about, again, in your mind, a veritable lake that's not made of water, but of fire and brimstone. That essentially sounds like the magma that comes out of volcanoes, that at its very hottest, not as it's cooling down like you see in Hawaii, the slow moving magma as it goes, or lava flow as it goes over land. Can't stop it, but it's not going to go, but you're able to run away from it if you have any type of, you don't even need a head start, just don't get burnt. You can run from it. But then there are other volcanoes, of course, essentially that they're what is called pyroclastic flows, which essentially they're moving down the mountains at over 100 miles an hour. You can't escape that. But I'm talking about the lake of fire, so the actual lava lake or magma lake that forms in certain times in the cone of a volcano, where it's extremely hot. So imagine that. Imagine that there's no light there. Maybe the dull light from the flames. But that's it. Smoke, I'm sure there's smoke all around. What normally would choke people to death. Knowing that essentially, many times in a volcanic eruption, what kills people is not necessarily the heat, it's the lack of oxygen and the overabundance of air full of sulfur and the billowing smoke, and it's all getting into your lungs. So that's the closest thing that we have on earth to the lake of fire. I would assume it's worse. Again, for 1,000 years, the false prophet, Antichrist, will be the only residents there. Then the next person, or the next being to be thrown there, will be the one who we had thought would be in there all along. And that's Satan. Satan. And of course, all of those angels that were fallen, those that became demons and devils, unclean spirits, evil spirits, and those who are locked in Tartarus are now thrown there. Now, it also says, interesting in chapter 20, that death and hell are thrown into the lake of fire. And what that really means is that there will be no more dead people, which kind of goes against what we've been taught, right? The dead ones stay on the ground. The live ones go up to meet with Christ. But if death and hell is thrown in the lake of fire, that signifies their destruction. There is no more dying. There is no more realm that the dead souls are kept. It's gone. That means either you're in the new heaven and new earth, either you're there, or you're in the confines of the lake of fire. And which means that death now becomes has a different meaning now, because this is called the second death, which means it's not the cessation of bodily functions. It's not the cessation of brain waves or heartbeats or lungs going in and out, in and out, in and out. Simply put, it's an existence without Christ. And this will take place for eternity. As I said before in an earlier session, people think that's mean. That's just plain vindictive. It's not. That's why we are doing things like this. We're telling people about it. This is why Paul talks about it. This is why Jesus talked about it so much. He talked about it so people could avoid it. So if it's being talked about and people are going there still, it means people aren't listening. So I advise you to make your choice, because after those three or those people are going to go there, then it says whoever is not written in the Lamb's book of life, which means that you, at that particular time, either it's never been there or it's been blotted out, meaning you were saved, you were part of the book of life, and you got dropped off the list. This is a very serious thing. Very serious. So it's your choice. Do you want to listen? Again, we're not going to heaven because we're afraid of hell. That's not the key. Heaven is a wonderful place with a wonderful God, where we will live a wonderful existence forever. That's why we go, because we love the one who's inviting us there, who is Jesus. But there is a penalty for those who don't listen to God. And its residence in this particular place, the lake of fire. And it says explicitly, into a lake burning with fire and brimstone. Now, the bodies are not to be consumed. I talked about this also earlier. Whereas the Lord, this has happened before. But it didn't happen to a human being. It happened to a bush, where Moses was talking to God. And that was how God was able to get his attention. To see a bush that would not be consumed, even though the intense fire was upon it. Found out that it was the Lord within that fire. It was burning, but the bush wasn't consumed by it. Meaning, a person 1,000,000 years from now will not be consumed by the lake of fire, but it will hurt. It will be painful. It will be excruciating. And I believe the same idea of outer darkness will be there as it is when person now goes to the holding place. Because hell is actually a holding place. It is not the final destination. Don't you think about that too? Hell is not the final destination of the unsaved. It's a holding place until you meet the Lord at the great white throne judgment. And all those, it said, all those who are not part of the first resurrection, which is all those who are not involved in a bodily resurrection from the time of Christ. Well, this also includes Enoch and Elijah as well, but from the time of Christ all the way through to the rapture of the saints, all the way through to the catching up of the tribulation saints, all up until the time where the Lord Jesus comes down to earth. Because at that time, I'll tell you something else too, that if you are living at that particular time and you die during the tribulation, scratch that. You die during the millennial period after Christ comes back. That means your goose is cooked. You die during the tribulation, but that includes all those who had been sealed with the mark of the beast. Not all of them will die right at Armageddon. Many will be living still because they'll have children. But the children don't have to follow the parents. Remember, there won't be Satan there to put, to put deception into hyperdrive. And the influence of Christ will be all over the world. So it's very probable that many of the children of those who had the mark of the beast, that they will turn out to be much better than their parents. But if someone else, even the new generation, and they commit a transgression and they're not forgiven of it, and they die during that time, Isaiah tells it like it is. A person 100 years old will be considered, who dies at 100 years old, will be considered accursed. Because they must have sinned somehow. They must have not followed the rule or the law of the Jesus that is reigning at the time. But it's after the first resurrection. Meaning, anyone who dies await the white throne judgment. That's sobering. Because the white throne judgment is not to determine whether you're innocent or not. This is not according to what we would know as courts that we or go to, where they have determined your guilt or innocence. No. The fact that you are in the grave, your body's in the grave, or has been put in the grave, of course, probably in the deteriorating, but the fact that your body's put in the grave and that your soul is in the waiting place of hell means very simply, you're not coming to the great white throne to determine your innocence. It's to confirm your guilt. Probably the only ones who may be there at the great white throne are those who were born during the millennial period and ended up not abiding by when Satan is finally loosed. And for that little season, he deceives most of the people of the world again. But there will be some who will resist his temptations, resist his deception. Maybe those will go by the great white throne and they're judged innocent. But that's just a conjecture. But essentially, the idea is very simply this: whosoever whose name was not written in the Lamb's book of life were thrown, cast, hurled into the lake of fire. And I can only imagine how those moments are. Once your guilt is determined, an angel or someone else of power takes you. I can just imagine screaming, "No, no, Lord, no, I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry," and crying, "No." And I can just imagine, maybe it's not the case, but it says they were cast. It means that cast means you're thrown, hurled. They take you, they rear back, and they throw you over some ledge, some edge, something that marks the limits of the lake. And you, Jesus, just help us, Lord, help us. You go through the air. You're not flying, but you're on an arc. You know you're going to go down it sometime, and all you're seeing is thick, acrid smoke with flames of fire in certain places thrusting through the smoke. Then as you go down and you feel it getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. And you just lose all hope. Because what's ahead of you? Maybe your face first, maybe your feet first, don't know. Jesus, help us. But you drop into where you see a vast lake where others are screaming. They can't die, but they're full of pain. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So, well, how can the Lord do this to a person? The Lord didn't do this. You did. If you're not listening to the will of God, after ample warning, no more excuses. That's why today, if you hear his voice, harden not your heart. You who are wayward, come back. God loves you, but he's not going to do anything if you reject him. You're playing virtually with fire. You don't want to be in that position. Saints, you don't want to be in that position. My friend, you don't want to be in that position. I'm pleading with you. Come to Jesus. Again, I don't usually do a hellfire message because I know that Jesus is about love. But if I don't say this, then I'm not teaching you half. I'm only teaching you half the truth. And the Lord wants the whole truth to be taught to you. Not so I can glance and say, I'm better than you. No. If I don't do the word, I'm going to be in the same position. But I don't want you or my worst enemy to be doomed for this. For eons tumbling over eons, tumbling over eons, tumbling over eons. So the day is the day that you get it straight. Because tomorrow You just don't know if your number is already up. God bless you. And I do love you all. Again, that's the only reason why I'm going through this. So you can know there's a place you don't want to go. Avoid it at all costs. And it's not God that chooses it. It's you. Take care. God bless you in Jesus' name.